everyone, I'm Elaine Chow.
And I'm Trist Curless.
And welcome to the Musician's Loop.
Loop, like a drum loop?
No, like the kind of thing that a jeweler uses to evaluate gems.
Oh, like a magnifying glass, like what we'll do on this podcast, actively listening to music like a musician.
That's right. And every week, we are choosing a track to dive into together and share our thoughts about what we find intriguing about the song.
Whether it's songwriting, chord progression, instrumentation, recording technology, arrangement, whatever, we're looking at the music we love through the lens, or the loop, of decades in the music industry.
Hey, Trist, what do we have this week?
Well, this time we start with a question that I want to pose. Can a particular singer or artist make you hear a song that you never really heard before? The way that I said hear and heard in the air quotes. So there's a song, maybe you hear a cover of something. The song was never that big of a thing to you until you heard a certain artist do it. And then all of a sudden it spoke to you and made you even appreciate the original more. Like you needed the vehicle of the new artist to hear the art.
I can think of at least one, like the Whitney Houston version of I Will Always Love You.
Right.
Right? That's a classic one that Dolly Parton wrote. That's an example of what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, and it's like, okay, that's a good song. Of course, that's really, but then all of a sudden with this other delivery mechanism, it's like, oh, wow. Those lyrics didn't really hit me the way that they do now. This week's song, but quite in the same realm of being an amazing piece of music, I Can't Make You Love Me. But the one we're going to listen to was recorded by George Michael.
Oh, interesting. I had no idea that he had recorded this song, so I'm looking forward to listening to it.
Yeah, it was not on a regular album. We'll get into those particulars.
Okay, so before we pause, can you remind us how we listen to music as a part of the Musician's Loop community?
Here at the Musician's Loop, we are always happy to have you in whatever way you can join us, and we appreciate you listening. But if you do have the ability and can take just a moment to improve your listening situation, whatever it may be, at least just to listen to the song. If you can put on the nicer headphones or put it on the big speakers or turn it up a little bit or go into the nice study where you have the good listening room set up, treat yourself and just listen the best way that you can. Again, if you're out on a run, thanks for having us, and listen to this tune and come back.
All right, so we're going to leave the links in the show notes and we will be right back. And we're back.
And we are back. Is that a beautiful rendition or what?
It is. We normally hear the Bonnie Raitt version, right?
Yeah, that's the original, sung by Bonnie Raitt. Not written by her, but her original recording and performance. With Bruce Hornsby playing piano with her, by the way, if you never knew that. Now you know.
So I'm really interested in hearing why you selected this version and also gave the lead that you did.
So that was the song for me. So the thing is, for me, I needed George Michael's amazing voice to tell me the story for whatever dumb reason. I think my brain, especially, I'm just out of high school and I knew of this artist, Bonnie Raitt. She had finally had some success. She had been doing it for 15 or 20 years with enough success to be a professional musician and travel the world and making albums, but never a big hit. And man, I had this album in like 89 and 90 called Nick of Time. Let's give them something to talk about. Like all the hits, like it just came out of nowhere. She was the hot new thing that had been doing it 20 years, right?
Yeah.
So those were the kinds of songs, kind of bluesy, gritty, country rock tunes, and not my bag. So I let that's like the slow, pretty song that the girl that sings the stuff that I'm not into is singing. Somehow I let all of that stuff cloud my thought. And even though that song, because it's so well written, it's such a good song. It often makes, the greatest sad songs of all time, all these lists. It's on those kinds of lists frequently because it's just so well written. But I just wasn't hearing that. I was like, oh yeah, that's the Bonnie Raitt thing. It's the same great song. I just wasn't going to allow myself to actually listen to it and be as moved as maybe I should have. And because I was more of a fan of George and his music and his voice, I hear him cover it. And yeah, I totally dig it, but also light bulb goes off like, oh, you idiot. You've heard this song for years now and you didn't pay attention to what an amazingly well-written song this is. So going back and listening to her, she sounds great. It's really well delivered. It's just a different style. And I was glad that the George version let me realize what a dummy I was and not really giving credence to what a great song it was, no matter who's delivering it.
It's interesting to me to think about which version I prefer. They're definitely different. We recently covered a Patsy Cline song, and we had been talking about how Patsy Cline's voice just really had that maturity to be able to sell the tragedy of it.
Yeah.
And I felt the same way about Bonnie Raitt's voice. And
There's
I don't
more
know.
pain.
Exactly. But I think that it doesn't have the same level of vulnerability that George's voice has. And I think about how he delivers it, and the delivery that he has is very light at the very beginning. I actually wrote down as a part of this listen through that there was that very tenderness that he had at the very beginning that showed that vulnerability. And eventually he ends up going more into the power voice, like second half of the song or so, and really has more of that belting kind of voice
money
in the
notes,
second.
the George Michael money notes.
Exactly.
That you're paying admission to hear.
So I heard that vulnerability. I heard that wistfulness. And I felt like it was a slightly different take because the voices were so different between Bonnie Raitt's version and George Michael's version.
Another key to just what a well-written song it is how many covers. There's a Boyz II Men cover. There's an Adele version. I'm an insanely crazy Prince fan, and Prince did a cover of it that I don't necessarily care for all that much. But yeah, there's the George, and there's also a live version. He did an MTV Unplugged special that he sings this on as well, with some live strings and background singers, and of course Unplugged, so all mostly acoustic instruments. Really cool performance, really beautiful, tender delivery.
Well, I heard that in this one, besides the voices, which were significantly different, the instrumentation was very different as well. And I felt like that really shifted the tone as well. So instead of what you were talking about, that blues rock background of Bonnie Raitt, the way that she delivered, the way that the instrument supported her was very different than the very acoustic version that we heard in this track, which was much more strings, much more, piano, acoustic guitar, upright bass, and very simple kit drums. And I just felt like it was a bit more pulled back in some ways, a lot more restrained than the Bonnie Raitt version. I don't know if this is mapping to reality because I haven't heard that song in a little while, but this is from memory here.
I don't know if he did it for the MTV show first, and that's why I kind of stuck with that arrangement. I'm forgetting the exact order, but they're both very close in time. I like this one specifically the most, the one that we have in the show notes, and I believe it's only going to be a YouTube clip because it's not on any of the streamers this way. The live one isn't this way. There's a lot of ways to listen to the song, and you feel like it's the same, but when you love it as much as I do, you miss all the little spots that you loved. And it's like, wait, he took a breath there. That's what I loved, is that he didn't take a breath there. So there are a few differences. Listen again and listen to some of the phrasing and some of the places maybe he connects where you weren't expecting it. Has a few different alternate notes that are very much in his style that actually fit this perfectly. Sometimes he does things that are very George Michael that don't necessarily fit the song, but this one it really, really does.
That is interesting because there were definitely some vowels that he used that I heard. I was like, oh, that's such a George Michael thing to do. And it was almost distracting to me because it was very typical George Michael. And it wasn't the Bonnie Raitt kind of way of approaching vowels or just the way that she pronounces things that I'm like, well, I don't know if I prefer it, but I understand it's his style.
When I first happened upon it, I was like, oh, wow, he's doing this song. Let me check this out. I remember specifically hearing because I was such a fan and heard so many recordings, there was a few sounds that I was like, oh, wow, I've never heard that timbre or that part of his range on that vowel before. Like there were literally tone colors he was using that I had never heard him use in any other song before. So it really surprised me because he has, again, his stock, like this is the quiet low spot, this is the belty spot. It's just consistent gold coming out of his chords that anytime I heard these other little vowel sounds, I was always surprised. But in a good way, like, oh, wow, okay. He's either feeling this in a way or he's aging in such a way that he can't transition between these two voices as much, or I'm not sure what. But I specifically remember sounds that I hadn't heard from him before.
So there were two other things that I heard that I'd love to call out. One of them was the treble chorus. And so there's a chorus starting at about minute 4 or
The
so.
background singers come in.
Exactly. And it was funny because I didn't hear them until the second time through. And I was like, oh, they are there.
Right.
And they're so good. But I think that part of the reason I didn't hear them at first is that they are mixed in so well. They are definitely part of the texture. I know that you've talked about background vocals being more textural. And this is one where I was like, oh, it was textural. I didn't even hear it until I was listening to it.
Yeah.
But it was also a lot more soulful. I felt like the voices in and of themselves, it wasn't a choral ooh. It was definitely more of a soul gospel ooh that I heard. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me anything about that?
Right at that time, he had anywhere between 6 and 9 background singers that were just always incredible, especially strongly featured on that previously mentioned MTV Unplugged. There's still not an official video release of that, but if you know the dark arts of the internet, you can find it. But they have officially released the audio from all those, and the background singers are just incredible on those sessions. The original song actually has background vocals in about the same spot. They're not as predominant, and there aren't as many of them. And yeah, they're also back into the texture. They're not even as forefront as these are. The background vocals are definitely an important part of this era of recording for him.
When you say the background vocals, are you talking about the original George Michael version, or are you talking about the Bonnie Raitt version?
Both.
Oh, wow. They both have the background vocals.
They both have background vocals in that same spot. And it's easy to miss. When I listened again, I was like, oh, there are some background vocals right there in the original. So it's voiced a little bit differently. There are more voices, it sounds like, on the George, and the chords opened up a little bit more, spread a little bit farther. But it's the same basic function within each style.
Interesting. Well, that brings me to the second thing that I noticed, which was the ending. And I was like, whoa, where did that ending come from? And
we did this whole podcast just so we can talk about this.
Okay. And, he's talking about someone's going to love me. It is a complete left turn. And it was so interesting. I'm like, what do you mean you're stopping here? I thought it was a new movement that we were going into that was going to be his invention, some kind of introduction, his version of it.
This is what I'm saying, Elaine. Send this to everybody you know, and somebody needs to find us the answer, what the story is. So the first time I hear this, I'm just like, now, wait a minute. I can't decide if I'm annoyed or that's the coolest thing ever, or I've just got this wave of emotions because this song has a vibe. It is not a happy one. It's not looking forward. It's not things are going to get better. It's not life can be great. It's not you never know what's around the corner. That's not the message of this song. This song is a downer. It's beautiful, but man, it's deeply heartfelt. It's a bummer. I can't make you love me if you don't. Just that line is just like, ugh. That's the vibe of this song. And he's going to have a different little chord change at the end. And then just like a glass half full, someone's going to love me. What? No, you can't. On one hand, I'm like, wait, that changes the entire experience we just had. It's like, there's all this, but hey, the sun will come out tomorrow. So I need to know, did the songwriters ever hear this and have the same reaction as me? Like, no, what are you doing? Or they're mad because they actually like it and wish they had thought of it. But here's the next thing. So the recording that we keep referring, the highlighted one that we want you to listen to, it has that at the end. There are many versions of this that are out there online that the label put out. The line is not there. Even the MTV Unplugged, the video that I managed to obtain that I'm probably not supposed to have, he sings that on the live video.
I was going to ask that because I was wondering if he had intentionally done it. Because the alternate explanation that I had was that, oh, maybe it has to do with the next track. It's leading into the next track. But if he's singing it in the MTV version, that means that it was intentional. Okay, tell me more about that.
The ones that I've seen that have been put out there on YouTube by the label that you're supposed to see, it's taken out. It's not a different version. It's the same recording and it is edited out. The little chord happens differently and there's no vocal. There are several instances of that vocal being removed. So I just want to know the story. I want to know if the songwriters or the publishers came in and said, that isn't there. Get that out of there. I don't know who decided. I need to know the story about this because I've always thought that was a very interesting choice to just flip the whole vibe of the song to like this positive outlook. If anybody, please, somebody has to know more about this. I've looked in Reddit threads. I've looked in fan pages. I've looked all over the place, but I've not seen any information. At the most, someone's like, oh yeah, it was interesting how this one version has him sing this and this one doesn't. Well, I already know that. I just want to know. So I went on and on and on about that. So you tell me what you thought as you heard that at the end of the song.
I was surprised. And I think a big part of the surprise had to do with, A, I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting the song to close because I knew the song. But I think, B, it was musically so different. It was definitely one of those things where the chord, this is a very simple rock song. This is a very simple song from a chord perspective. And it just definitely hit a different, I mean, I said left turn. I really do mean left turn. Just musically, it sounds like, yep, I've tacked something on at the very end and is like, oh, where did that come from? It's interesting that you mention the sense of hopefulness in that. I'm not entirely sure I'd processed enough to be able to say whether it was hopeful or not. Definitely a huge surprise for me. And I don't think I got beyond that.
Again, it's the only thing that looks ahead in the entire song. The entire song is looking back, how there's love going in one direction and I can't make you love me back.
In previous songs, we've talked about how lyrics paint a series of vignettes or they paint a picture of the emotions. This one in particular sounds so intimate because it describes one moment, one emotion, in incredible depth. And you find out so much about this relationship in just 2 verses and this repeated chorus. So the line that you've referenced is the one that definitely tells us like, oh, this is what's going on. But there's this very descriptive, turn down the lights, turn down the bed. We're going to have this intimate moment, but there's a sense of wistfulness as a part of that. Like, don't patronize me, right? Just lay down with me. And then you find out that it's the very end of a relationship, as opposed to your typical everyday, every night kind of thing, an intimate moment. And the second verse, the singer talks in some ways of constructing this world in this moment, saying, I just want to pretend that things are okay. And I think that leads to that sense of tragedy. We all understand what it means to be in a relationship that is breaking up. You're in this moment at the very end. And sometimes it's explosive, right? And like all this stuff happens. But this particular one is like, I know we're ending. I know that tomorrow reality is going to hit. But just for tonight, let's just pretend. And so there is something in there that is heart-wrenching, but it's describing one particular moment in an incredible depth, as opposed to the other types of lyrics that we talked about previously.
Right. Which is just more follow-up for not adding that line at the end about, well, someone's going to love me. Like, it's all of that we just said. Yes, and it's so well crafted and so well done. So just to tag that on, again, is, I think, really cool and also baffling and weird. And I still have never decided if I like it or hate it.
I file that under, it's a choice.
Well, and of course, I like the version of it so much, and his singing is so beautiful. And like I said, I really heard this song for the first time. I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, the song is really well done. Then when that is added, I'm always like, what is happening? Anyway,
Okay, so anything else to say about this song before we wrap up?
Oh, that's it. I hope this is the most comments we ever get. Tell us your favorite version. Tell us your least favorite version. Tell us versions of it that we might not even know about. You can let your friends know about this and spread the word and help us find out the mystery of that extra line and if it was added by whom and if it was taken out by whom. You can do all of that. How, Elaine?
Well, you can email us at themusiciansloop@gmail.com. That's LOUPE. Or you can message us on Instagram or Threads at themusiciansloop. So help us out here. Help us to figure this out. We're on the hunt. We have a mission.
Yes, please let us know. And now, the mailbag. Yes, the mailbag, where we answer your questions. What do we have today, Elaine?
Well, we have a comment from Threads. This is from Danny the Fierce on Threads from December 2025. And he is an elementary music educator. He says, cold take, not a hot take, cold take. The number one goal of elementary music teachers is to build a community of people that love music. Not reading music, not writing it, not recalling the definition of symbols, but if a music teacher can connect a community to the joy of music making, singing with friends, playing games with songs, and even fostering a passion for actively making music with one another, that's how you get kids to choose to be musicians in their later years / adult life.
Yes. What is there to talk about? Yes.
I'm interested in hearing a little bit more about your experience with music in elementary school in particular. I have my own stories and I would love to be able to share that, but I'd love to hear from you. What kinds of experiences did you have and how do you think that's inspired you as an adult?
I think the way I might be an anomaly here is that I always had some innate ability. It came easily to me. I naturally had a really good ear. Music was just fun, something I loved. So I never thought of it as something I was learning. Sure, I was learning different things, but I never thought about that as a class I had to learn something. Well, this was fun time. And again, because I didn't have to struggle through it. I wasn't like, oh, my voice doesn't work great or I don't have good pitch recognition. I just loved it already. I never thought about it as a thing you're even learning until I was in high school.
Well, can you tell me a little bit about the opportunities that you had in elementary school? Like, what did that look like? Did you have a dedicated music teacher? Was it a weekly thing? I don't know if you remember, like, elementary school was a long time for both of us.
Yeah, in kindergarten, there would have been stuff integrated into the class with the regular teacher. But then starting in 1st through 6th grade, there was a particular teacher who was very musically oriented, who also in 4th grade, we did our own little plays and musicals about Wyoming history. But outside of the class, once a week, you would go to the music class and there would be the Christmas performance and the Easter performance, the end of the year performance, etc. Just the basic stuff. I can't think of any other special opportunities because again, to me, it was as much as saying, hey, it's recess time when you get to go there. So I didn't think of it in the way that you're asking, I guess.
Part of the reason I maybe struggle with this a little bit is that my elementary school experience was, I don't want to say unusual. I just changed schools. I went to a private school from kindergarten to 5th grade, and then I switched to public school in 6th grade. But I think my school at the time was very similar to a lot of schools now where arts funding was really a question mark. And so there was band. I didn't audition for band. And I remember there were some volunteers that came in for music appreciation, but that wasn't a very hands-on kind of thing. Now, at the same time, I had private music lessons. So I started in 1st grade learning piano. And so I learned how to play piano, learned how to read music. Definitely by the time I hit 5th or 6th grade, I was playing fairly advanced things. So your typical 6th grade kid learning how to play their instrument at the same time as learning how to read music. I was definitely playing sonatinas at that point in time. So I think about my music experience as an elementary school kid, and all of that was outside of school. So I really didn't have that experience. Now, in my private school, I don't have memories of an explicit music course. And if I did, I probably would have been pretty bored because of the private music lessons that I had for such a long time. Like, if I'm already reading at that level, putting a recorder in front of me and having me play Three Blind Mice is
Right.
probably not super interesting to me.
Exactly.
And as an adult, when I was a teacher, I had an opportunity to teach third graders recorder. And I said, oh, heck no, because it's kind of like teaching violin. There's a lot of squeaking going on. So I
Yeah.
wasn't entirely sure. I was like, I don't know if I want to be on the other side of this.
Yeah, I'm remembering that now you're saying these things. So I do remember the recorder was third grade. I didn't even think about music being such an important part of my life until I was in high school, and barely even then.
I think one of the things that comes to mind as we're sharing our different experiences, like, first of all, how important arts education is in elementary school, and
Hmm.
especially in a world right now where people are talking about STEM. And certainly I'm in engineering, so definitely a big STEM proponent. But lately, people have been talking about STEAM and adding arts in there because they understand that it is a really important part of the human experience to be able to explore all these different aspects of artistic expression and how we can inspire the next generation that way. And at the same time, I think about my own experience, and none of that applied to me because I did zero corporate music until I hit college. So I felt like that was an interesting thing for me to think about. In some ways, like, oh, I think I missed out. And at the same time, I had so much privilege because I had the ability to take one-on-one lessons with a piano teacher who I loved. So I think that that is an interesting thing to think about, is like, what are the roles of our early musical influences in the choices that we make later in life? And I know other students of my piano teacher, other students who were active in music all throughout middle school and high school who aren't musicians today. And so I don't think it is so much a funnel as much as it is there are many roads that lead to Rome. And one of them is the public school system, or the school system in general. And there is definitely this sense of, for the kids who can be inspired to a lifetime of passion when it comes to music, there are lots of different ways to inspire a kid to do that.
And I think what he's getting at here, even more importantly, is just having it be something that's understood, that's just an accepted thing. Music is an important part of their lives, and whether they go on to do it for the rest of their lives, they can appreciate it. Goodness knows the artists need knowledgeable audiences that understand the level of the art that they're experiencing, even if it is just basic understanding of form, especially a little bit more complex musics, different classical styles, jazz styles. You don't need to know all about all the chords and all of the scales and the modes, but even just having that little bit of knowledge of form, the basis of improvisation, it leaves you open to be able to enjoy what's happening. Like anything, once you know just enough about how something works, it's a whole different experience. I noticed that when we traveled, in different groups I've been in, I've traveled to Japan especially, and throughout Europe. In Japan, generally the requirements for arts go through university. It's like, oh, I'm a business major at this university. Oh, cool. What's the arts component you're taking this semester? So it's just kind of a required part of their educational life, no matter what their main topic is. And then I see that when we go perform jazz music there, the general attentiveness of the audience is different. Their respect is different. They're listening for more particular things, understanding what's happening, and the applause is almost messes you up when you first get over there, because they applaud for such a great amount of time in between, while they are absolutely dead silent while you're making the music, and you're accustomed to some reactions and you don't get any. And the first couple times you're there, it's like, wait a minute, do they not like this? Because you get programmed to, oh, the response at that one stop time or the really high chord or something that happens, you'll hear reactions in the American audience, and then when the Japanese audience doesn't give it to you, you just think, oh man, maybe they don't like it, but they're just being respectful, and they save that applause till the end, and it's 4 times as long as you're ready for it, and you can't even move on to the next song. Anyway, it's important in creating audience as much as it is creating musicians.
I love that. I want to go back to maybe the core of what Danny was talking about here and maybe close on this, which is fun. Music is just
Yes.
fun. And so inspiring that sense of joy in music creation is so important. So, Danny, I'm guessing you're never going to hear this, but shout out to you. You are doing such important work in investing in the next generation. So thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. The joy of the music making, not the judgment of the others that you're singing with, not who is the best one in the class. At that age, it's still just, hey, we're all just singing along. Definitely, Danny, the joy of music making is why you are there, is to impart that to America's youth, and hopefully they can keep that with them throughout their lives.
And so with that, we're going to wrap up for this week. But before we end, I do want to encourage you all, please, please, please share an episode. Obviously, if you're listening to us, you love what we're doing. We would love for you to share an episode or two with a friend, someone who you think might enjoy our podcast as well.
Or someone who might know the answer to our question, what's up with the last line of this song? Or a friend of yours who their favorite version of this song is not the George Michael one. So please share this episode with someone, or share the playlists that we have on any of the platforms where we have the links available. And maybe they can file through, and maybe some song will interest them and they'll want to know more about it. And this is where you can check it out. We appreciate it.
Awesome. We'll see you next week.
Bye. This week is about I Will Always Love You. No. How did you know, Elaine? That was an amazing guess.
It's almost done.